Welcome to the Star Wars Reporter podcast, the official podcast of StarWarsReporter.com.
That title
Welcome,
sequence.
everyone.
That title sequence is Wizard.
That'll be the theme tonight, Wizard.
Wizard.
I forgot to put that picture in there. Anyways, welcome to the podcast. I am one of your hosts, Wookie Steve, and I'm getting out of hand Wookie. I cannot wait till the barbers open Monday. I have an appointment first thing in the morning, and I just need to trim this down. And if it was up to my wife, trim the entire thing down and get rid of it.
I was about to jump in and say, is this something you can't wait or your wife can't wait for? I think it might be a bit of the latter than the.
Well, I mean, she's going to be disappointed because it's only going to be this part and not
everything,
not the whole thing. Apparently, she liked the smooth face me, but he was a wimp.
He was a wimp. Look at you. You're a gladiator now. Look at you.
He was not manly in any way.
No.
Hey, and let's welcome some of the people in the chat right now. Jeremy's return. Did you guys like the Mandalorian season 2.5? Yeah, we're going to be getting to that. If you look at the picture here, it was Star Wars: The Book of the Mandalorian, Chapter 5. So, it's amazing. But we'll get into that. But before we do, just make sure that you like and share the video. Make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends. And be sure to follow us on our social media. And of course, visit us at StarWarsReporter.com. Let me just introduce, first of all, if you can't read the print, we're just Trooper Todd.
There it is, right there. Yeah, Trooper Todd. It's so backwards. It's always backwards. Trooper Todd. That's me. Hello.
Todd.
Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of the Star Wars Reporter podcast again. We're looking forward to tonight's conversation.
It wouldn't be the podcast without you.
Oh, thank you, man.
So, before we get started, too, I just wanted to point something out that happened. The actor that plays Black Chrysanthemum, it was a really cool thing happened to him. The Peter Mayhew estate made an Instagram post, and they had kind of praised his character, right? So, I mean, how cool is that, having the family of the OG Wookiee himself, Chewbacca, kind of praising your performance as a Wookiee? You know what I mean? So, but they didn't tag him in it because I don't think they could find his Instagram. So, like, me and others tagged him and stuff, and it was very cool. So here it is right here, and he reposted it. What an honor, sincere thanks to the Mayhew family. That's what they said. Warmest Wookiee welcome to Carrie Jones, who was playing fierce Black Chrysanthemum in the Book of Boba Fett. So how cool is that? I just wanted to shout that out because, what a cool feeling. I bet he never expected to have Star Wars fans going nuts over his character.
Well, the thing is, you're a new character, you're an actor. Okay, first of all, you're an actor in a franchise series sort of thing, right? That has expectations, and we all see how fans can turn on something pretty fast. And here you're introducing a new character, a new Wookiee, and again, and there's going to be there's going to be that comparison, right? They're always going to look up because Chewbacca is the foremost Wookiee that everybody knows and loves, and of course we had I can't remember the second actor who played Chewbacca. I know we had a new Wookiee guy for the new series.
Junis, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and so he had big shoes to fill, did a great job, and now you have somebody else coming in trying something different, but yet at the same time you get praise from the family of the great, and how could that not feel good as an actor, as a performer?
I know,
right?
Exactly right.
And so far, it looks like fans, there's been some negativity towards the Book of Fett, but I haven't seen a lot of negativity to BK.
Yeah, I mean, if anything,
he's
people are the exact opposite, right? So it's a highlight, and I'm still not understanding it, but about the
hate,
about the negativity. I get it. I get it, but I'm kind of seeing it from that side. I don't get it, but I get it. So, but this episode here, James, a friend of the Star Wars Reporter, had said this episode is his second favorite Mandalorian episode. Next to, of course, the Luke Skywalker showing up at the end of season 2. Is that a spoiler? Anyways,
Well, it's not a spoiler by now. If you don't know about it by now, you missed the boat. Really,
I
you
know,
have.
too bad for you. But
Exactly.
yeah, so before we get talking about chapter 5,
I thought that was one of the weirdest trailers I've seen for any Star Wars or Marvel series so far because it just had a ship, there's no dialogue, and then some random person pops out of the spacecraft. I'm like, okay. So actually, I want to say something before we start. You watched chapter 5 before I had seen it,
yes.
and one thing you wrote down was somebody commented saying some about who's coming on the show, and you said Jar Jar. I was so worried that I was going to see Jar Jar Binks this episode. You guys said no way they could not have brought Jar Jar back, and thank goodness I was being trolled by Wookie Steve.
That's I don't know why you would be so upset. Me so happy it happened.
Me so happy.
Me so happy.
Me
There
so
will be lots of
happy.
spoilers. This is going to be a review with spoilers. So um, I guess this is your warning now. And after that, send all angry emails to Todd via contact at starwarsreporter.com.
Thank you. Yes.
We should do that. I wish we got a lot of emails, like hate mail, even because I just post it
Complaint.
and have fun with that. Do that whole. Who is it? Is it Kimmel that did that with angry tweets? Or
Yes, angry tweets. Yes, he did it. I think he does it first. He brings all the guest stars on and then read angry
yeah.
tweets. Very entertaining.
So chapter 5, the return of the Mandalorian, which is it right away reminded me of Return of the Jedi for some reason, and of course it was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. So which
Her third
you know
episode of so far in this extended Disney Plus Star Wars series that she's directed now. I know the
yes.
first. To start off, just can I say something like, not that I was disappointed in the episode, but I was disappointed because it wasn't about Boba Fett. Does that make sense? Like again, I like again. We'll break down the episode, but at first I was going, oh, like as the show progresses, Boba Fett doesn't make an appearance at all in his own show. Now I know standard practice in TV series. Lots of times they introduce a new character, not that Mandalorian's a new character, but new to the storyline. They'll do a whole episode in that one person, and so
Yeah.
it's very structurally sound how they do it, sort of thing. They're updating the audience where he's been at, sort of thing. Obviously he's going to play a major role in the upcoming series, but it was but again, I thought they set up in chapter 4 really well. At the very end, if you have money, you can buy muscle, right? And then the theme Mandalorian plays, so it's a good strong hint that right off the top it goes off exactly where the music led us to, right? So that was kind of, again, so I have mixed feelings about that. It's really cool how they did it, but I must say, deep down, I was a little disappointed that it was such a far takeoff from actually Boba Fett.
Yeah, I was confused. Like we knew Mandalorian was coming. That wasn't a secret in any way,
No.
even up until you heard that music at the end of the last episode. But I was confused the fact that he wasn't just part of the crew. The whole episode was. Now, again, James and I were talking, and he said, you know, he's kind of happy for this episode because it'll get rid of the whole fluff for season 3 of The Mandalorian. This episode explained everything that's been going on with him, et cetera, or what's going on for the next season. And we'll get to that. But I was confused. I made notes throughout it. I was just like,
Where's Boba?
this is what Boba Fett should have been doing in episodes 1 to 4. You know what I mean? Like, again, we'll get to it as we go on. But the coolest, the best episode, in my opinion, right now of the Book of Boba Fett is the Mandalorian episode.
See, now I
Which is
disagree.
weird.
I disagree. Like, I think so far to me, as chapter 2, the whole train heist was by far the best episode by far. Like to me now, the director, Mrs.
Chris Elson. Bryce Howard. Yeah.
Thank Bryce Howard. Sorry. You know, to me, some of the weakest episodes of Mandalorian are the ones she's directed. I found.
Really?
The first one she did, the first season, one where introduced Cara Dune, right? That's right. It was on the plan. I didn't care for that one too much. It wasn't my favorite one. If we go back in time when we were
right.
critiquing it was my least favorite episode of that series. And I can't remember which one she directed the second season. But again, this one, not that it was bad. It's just there's something off about it. Always the pacing or something. But we'll get into it as we go along.
Yeah, we get into it. You know, this is kind of, it was action filled, and I think, and again, we keep saying we'll get into it, but I know I was kind of saying, this PG-13 Boba Fett, blah blah blah. The Mandalorian was a little more violent, and whatnot, and here we go, PG-13, right into wow, like the violence and everything else. But
the opening scene, I thought the opening scene was like, well, do you have any photos of the opening scene?
Let's just talk about that opening scene. One of the coolest scenes, and again, it's reminiscent of that old Wild West coming into the scene, right?
Yeah.
Instead of the swinging doors, you had the plastic screen in what is like a butcher shop, I guess, right? And then he enters in. Bam! There, he's opening the doors to the saloon.
And what's really cool is the fact that you don't really know who that was behind. Like, yes, you think it's Mandalorian, the music's kind of hinting at it, but again, it looks like Boba Fett, right? It was kind of a cool reveal, like, comes through. Like you said, saloon doors, opens sideways, because usually the saloon doors, you see the hat, you see the cowboy boots, but you don't see the body, right? Same kind of effect. It was really, really effective. And like you're saying, how I know one of the criticisms you said, Book of Fett so far has been really PG-13, really tame sort of thing. Like, where this opening scene was very, had a bit of like mobster kind of feel to it too. Like,
definitely.
Like Goodfellas or.
By, he's walking through this thing. There's these dog alien things. I guess I should have looked up what these guys were, but it was like a big butcher place.
Yeah.
Right? And then he goes into. Here it is. It's that kind of typical mafia, the guy, there's money all over the table and there's henchmen all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So
a scum, it's setting it up as these people aren't on, they're not maybe the most law-worthy citizens in the galaxy sort of thing, right? These are maybe the scum of the galaxy right here. You can tell.
Scum and villainy for sure.
Scum and villainy for sure, yes.
So he's actually hunting, right? And it's really funny seeing. I get a picture of it. He's actually hunting for that guy, right? Like,
although he knows of the guy. I like how he tries to pass it. Well, I'll let him know you stopped by, right? And he shows him the picture.
Then he's got the little the hunter thing.
It doesn't even look like me. Oh, dude, it looks exactly like you.
That was so funny.
The worst lie ever, right? I don't.
And then I love it where they just get into the fighting. There's no talking. There's just like it's very minimal talking. And if you notice, even with the Mandalorian, he talks very little most of the time, and everyone else rambles on.
Well, before the action started, there's a bit of negotiation trying to take place, right? I loved the negotiation. He was trying. I call him the Jeepers Creeper because he looks like the Jeepers Creepers from the Jeepers Creepers movie. But he tried negotiating with the Mando, right? I have some money here. You just walk away. But it didn't quite work out that way, did it?
Yeah, I mean, and a really interesting fight too, right? Like these dog-looking guys. I mean, right away, the one guy grabs his hand, starts biting him like a dog. I thought it was kind of hilarious, but then it turns into more serious. And one of the things I liked is the variety of fighting that Mando was doing. Like this scene here, the guy he actually blocked a hit with his shin. And speaking of offline, the discussion of Muay Thai, that's like a Muay Thai thing. Kick coming in, block it with your own shin, right? It was really versatile. They're shooting at him with blasters, and he's like turning, and the Beskar is doing its work. It was just like he was either shooting, smashing, hitting, stabbing. It was
a lot of stabbing.
It was awesome.
A lot of stab.
Well, the stabbing, because again, he pulls out the dark saber, right? And then it's game on.
Yes, and that was kind of neat when he pulls out the dark saber, right? Because again, we were talking about before about being PG. Like this, where they really cut loose, I thought, and they weren't showing blood and stuff flying everywhere, but at the same time, like he's cutting through beef, and the beef's falling apart, and the guys fall down. Like they were going all
Yeah.
out, really, right? And then
Well, even he cuts himself with that because the dark saber, he cuts his leg open. Holy moly!
I know, right? Like obviously, I started laughing because going, well, I guess you need to work with the blade a bit, right? Because you got to think a Jedi, if you're not careful with your lightsaber, you might cut your leg off, right? So
It just goes to show that, and I was talking with someone about this. It goes to show that not everyone can just use a lightsaber, right? Like it is a dangerous weapon. I mean, fighting like I practiced in like German longsword and Italian rapier, and if it was a real blade, I mean, it's dangerous in itself. But now you have a blade that's a laser with no protection for your hand, and you know what I mean. Like it's really dangerous. And I'm glad I saw that. That they showed that he was having trouble with it. It's not
and
just a. It's just not a normal melee weapon.
yeah, and the thing is, it's not even just the blade, the edge of the blade that cuts you, because it kind of went on the side of it. The side of it burnt him, right? So that's
Yeah,
to say that it's not just the front edge of the blade or the back edge on the swing, like a big Conan the Barbarian sword would be just the edges, right? Like it's
yeah,
like sideways, whatever. It's going to cause damage.
yeah. And I meant to point this out. I love this is the whole that Western and how Mando is so tough, right? When he's done playing games with that guy, like it doesn't even look like me. He does that famous line, I could bring you in warm or I could bring you in cold.
We've heard that kind of threat before, but we never seen him bring somebody in cold. So the fact they took it this far, like when the guys like obviously gets to the point where he kicks the guy on the table, the guy's that lying out, and he doesn't hold back.
No,
Like he basically the blade right through him and the table. Like
the table.
it looks so good. Again, we were talking about how we thought the violence wasn't it was tamed through the Book of Fett. This was no holds barred, and it was now went from a strong PG to a strong adult accompaniment sort of thing.
Oh, definitely. And at the end, when he's getting his bounty, bringing him cold, he he takes his head. I
I
couldn't believe it. He
know.
comes out with this bag with a head in it. And like all the doll guys are waiting for him, and he kind of doesn't, well, because he's really injured too from his leg, but he did a clever play where it's like there's all that money in there, why don't you go get that and leave me alone. But the head, we didn't see it, but
No, of course we didn't see it because that's going to be too far. But again, we know it's in the bag. You know what I'm saying? So, question for you. Question for you. As we're
yeah,
analyzing this great opening scene, because it was probably one of the best opening scenes, I would say, over both series, quite frankly. It was so
yeah,
strong. How do you feel about the dog aliens? Why, like, they look a lot like dogs.
yeah. I
That
mean,
kind of
even the
bothered me a bit.
biting of the
Yeah,
hand,
yeah,
like
yeah,
um
yeah.
I'm not sure. I should have been not lazy and looked up if they were in the Star Wars universe, or it was just
Well, they
something
are
made
now.
up to be kind of silly. They're dogs. They even look like the bulldogs from Bugs Bunny, that British bulldog.
Yeah, I know
Kind of
they
reminded me of
do.
Bugs Bunny.
They absolutely look like the French bulldog for sure. Is it French bulldog or it looked like a bulldog for sure. So I
Yeah,
wasn't again, not that I hate them. It's just
right.
that why they look like Earth dogs. That's my only question, right? Because
Yeah,
of all through all the Star Wars sagas I've seen, I haven't seen any kind of creatures that look like creatures from Earth.
right. Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing that we've talked about on previous things, like you know, bringing
Earthism.
our world into Star Wars. Like even as funny as it was, the word wizard, that was kind of offered like in the sequels, Poe in the Last Jedi making a mom joke.
Hmm.
Like that
Yeah,
just, I was shocked.
but didn't Han use the word wizard in the beginning about he just said Remember in episode 4, A New Hope, did he use the word wizard?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, they're talking about. I thought they did. Anyway, but yeah,
No.
it is weird to say wizard, but I thought I thought somewhere down the line we've heard them say wizard somewhere, but maybe not.
Yeah. So, so after that amazing opening, the next scene takes us to this really interesting looking spaceship or a
Yes.
space station, and I really loved it. And it immediately reminded me of a video game franchise that is my absolute favorite that I play to death, even to this day, the Mass Effect series.
Okay, I
And
was
it
about to say
really
that.
reminded me of the Citadel.
Oh, yes, I could see the similarities for sure.
Yeah, it absolutely reminded me of kind of that whole theme. So, but it was uh it was pretty cool. So you had the modern hit people on the space station, but it fit there and it wasn't
Yeah.
as overdone.
No, see, again, it's not on Tatooine. It works. It could be some pimped up place sort of thing. They're all kind of cool, and they're all, they're the preps of the galaxy, and that's where they hang out. All the cool kids, right? That's what
Yeah.
that looked like, and quite frankly, I buy into it, right?
Oh,
Um,
definitely. Because it was
eh,
like he was going into a bar or a club or whatever it was. So it's to be expected, like on Tatooine at Garsa's place, right? It's like you expect because hers isn't like the cantina in Mos Eisley, right? So it's a
right.
little more upscale apparently. So, uh, but so Mando is taking his his bounty cold to the client, and it was just this interaction. Not only the interaction I thought was kind of it made me chuckle a little bit, or the lack of interaction, but just we've talked about it before how well they're doing aliens on this
Hmm.
series, and it was this in the elevator.
The elevator. Oh yes, that guy looked so good, didn't he?
He looked amazing. Like I don't know, like I can't wait to see when they do the behind the scenes how much is practical, like how much CGI they added to the practical, like with eyes and stuff, like with the Trandoshans. Man,
Yeah.
it looks so good. But it's just this kind of like awkward, standing there. He's looking at Mando, and Mando's just like trying to pretend like nothing's going on. I just kind of chuckled.
It reminded me of Spider-Man 2, the one with Doctor Octopus, when Spider-Man lost his powers because he didn't believe it. He wanted to get up being Spider-Man, and he
Right.
couldn't swing, so we had to take the elevator down. And he's in the elevator with somebody, and there's kind of nice suit, So it's kind
Yeah.
of the kind of awkward thing. And it's a very similar thing. 'Cause I think then the alien looked down to see what's in the bag, sort of thing, and he's just kind of. It was good. It
I
was
know.
good.
Well, it must make people nervous whenever they see a Mandalorian around. It's like, what's going on? There's probably nothing good. Something bad's going to happen.
Well, even if that person knows what Mandalorian is, right? They're kind of not as familiar as what they used to be, right? So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
exactly as Jeremy said. Who else has had an awkward moment inside an elevator, right? So
I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, it could also be it. You know, what was the name of the group? Aerosmith has a song about
that's right.
loving an
Love it. Yeah.
elevator. I don't think there was any love happening here.
No, no.
Uh, so James is joining us. It's okay. Before we get on with Star Wars, I'm just going to have to. James is calling me the mullet master. I made the mistake of sharing sharing a picture of my Muay Thai days, and everyone's calling my hair a mullet. I had my hair tied back; it was long. It was like down on my shoulders, and I had the front pulled back, and it was afterwards. And I have it right here. So that's me, third from the left. And I have the bangs pulled into the back. And they're calling me a mullet, and it's not. It's supposed it's pulled back like this haircut, except he looks way better. So
Yes, well, I don't know if it looks way better. Come on, Steve. But it's nice that you come up with some kind of excuse to explain the look, right? Or I like what James also says. He says Steve is the mullet DeLorean.
wow.
You are the master of the mullet there for sure.
James
Oh,
is just
not
jealous.
not the
James
mullet
is
for
just
sure.
jealous of my luscious beard. But
Well, who
anyways,
wouldn't be?
getting back to the show. So Mando gets to the client, and um it wasn't really eventful. He was kind of doing this job to get information, right? And again, the whole scene, aliens, everything is done so well here, right? And it fits because it's on a space station, not in a deserts of Tatooine. But um,
But even those
so
people, they were in Tatooine in one of the cantinas, they wouldn't look out of place. Really, they wouldn't. Like the biker guys, they still look like they fit the part.
uh, so so Mando's going down to this area on the space station, and they've got all these like hidden uh, symbols that represent his Mandalorian sect. So I was pretty intrigued. I was like, so what's going on here? But he ends up going into this place. I mean, he's very injured as well, right? Like
He's limping quite harshly. Yes,
yeah.
he's on the lam for sure.
So then
Rather than an old friend.
the armorer. So it was really interesting. So he's kind of hooked up. This whole series of events is really interesting to me, right? So he goes in, he finds out that there's only three of them left, right? So it's him, the armorer, and Vizna, the guy in the middle, the heavy Mandalorian. So and of course he gets healed, right? There's this big scene. I wish we had tech like that. We could use it nowadays, where you just spray on
I
something
know,
and
right?
it's all better. So um, yeah, so it was kind of like it's really interesting how he's rejoining the sect. And I think this is their answer to Pedro Pascal pretty much just voicing the Mandalorian going forward in season 3. So it's like, what do? Well, they find an excuse to put the helmet back on.
Yeah.
This is the excuse, right? Put the helmet back on, sort of. I mean, he's got to, we'll get into that about what he's got to do. But, and, he ends up showing her, he's got this dark saber, and then she gives the whole history. He doesn't really know anything about it. He just tells her how he got it.
It's
And
made from some rare, the rare, the metal's called starts with a V. Sorry, it's made for something really rare and old, right?
oh, vibranium, or
Not vibranium. It's
it's
called
I
what the armor's
forget.
made out of. What's the armor made
Oh,
out of? It says a V. I'm so sorry. I'm bad with names. Anyway,
yeah. So she's talking about kind of the history, the Purge. It was lost in the Purge, right, of Mandalore, right? Where the Empire went and kind of purged them all out. There's some amazing scenes in this. So you
quick
see this
scenes.
scene
Yeah,
here of the Imperial droids from Rogue One, and this scene here, which I thought was really cool, and he
yeah.
immediately reminded me of a certain franchise.
Yes, Terminator. I thought the exact same thing. The exact same thing, Steve. But
It
again, it had
was so Terminator, man.
a very similar feel and to it too, right? Like, in the shot with the TIE bombers going overhead and dropping bombs and blowing up the place, like that looks so good.
Yeah,
You definitely didn't want to be a Mandalore when that was happening for sure, because yikes, that's a
yeah.
lot of TIE
I
bombers.
yeah, I thought that was. I mean, it was very cool looking. And maybe in season 3, if we see Mando going to Mandalore, um, maybe we'll get to see more. We did get to see Mandalore um, in the Clone Wars and in Star Wars Rebels. So in Star Wars Rebels, I think it was like destroyed, right, at that point.
I haven't got there yet.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, spoilers.
Spoilers. It's been a few years. That's my fault, so it's okay. Like just like saying Han Solo dies in Force Awakens. It's beyond.
Right. So he presents the armor with that Beskar spear,
Beskar, that's what it is. Beskar, thank you.
right?
That's what,
And it was
yeah.
really cool that they were like, she took it because it's like they don't use Beskar for weapons; it's for armor. And it was, of course, it was made as a weapon by that one woman from season 2
2.
of The
Yep.
Mandalorian to fight against Ahsoka, basically, or other Jedi's, and Beskar is resistant to the lightsabers. So it makes sense, right? And then so she's going to make it into whatever he wants, and he wants it. I think it's going to be armor for Grogu.
Yes, well, that's what he pretty much said, right? And it looked like to me when she was forging it, because she convinced him to do it, right? Because originally she said no, right?
Right.
And then okay, then she's going to do what would you like? It looked like she's making chainmail.
She's making chainmail. And I thought, here's the little bag she gives to him, and it looks like it's got ears and stuff on it.
It looked like Grogu's head. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I
it
thought
did.
too. The same thing. He looked at it one point in time, going, he's like, and it was reminding him of Grogu.
I didn't upload the picture. I forgot about it. But it's chainmail, which I think is pretty
James just said
cute.
Beskar. He said Beskar chain vest.
Yeah, Beskar chain. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. And again, here we go. So now the series is trying to find an excuse to get the helmet back on his head. He
Right.
rejoins the sect. Then probably someone at Disney said, even though it made sense, why did we write out the ultimate piece of the Mandalorian, which was Grogu, which is pulling in all these non-Star Wars fans and buying stuff, people that don't even watch the show and still buy Grogu stuff. We got to go get him back in the show after training with Luke Skywalker for 2 months or whatever it is. And the only cool thing I could see would be that we get to see Luke again, but we'll get into that later. So, uh, Luke's temple, yeah. So, I mean, your thoughts on that? Like,
Well,
it
obviously,
seems
yeah.
they're
Like,
getting into that.
a lot happened in such a short time, right? Like the simple fact that he was training. Like one thing I know very little about the dark saber. Obviously, the one thing here's a part where I really didn't care for the episode was when him and sorry, her name,
The
the armorer
armorer, I just call
were
it.
battling, sort of thing, right? And he
Oh
couldn't.
yeah.
It just obviously she's saying the sword's heavy, and he's fighting the sword, right? He's not working with the sword, sort of thing, right? So
Hmm.
that was kind of interesting. 'Cause again, I know very little about backstory about the dark saber, but again,
Right.
I just thought the whole scene looked clunky.
Yeah, and I
Where
think they're getting. I was thinking that she's telling him about focusing and this and that with the sword. He can't use just strength with it and stuff. It almost feels like in order to use the dark saber, he's got to use the force, which is interesting because the dark saber belonged to a Mandalorian who also became he was the leader who also became a Jedi.
he
He
made
was
it,
the
didn't he?
first and only. Yes, and this was his it was his lightsaber. And then after his death, it went here and there, but it was representing the leadership of the Mandalorians. But so is he now? Like, it might not happen that way, but are they setting him up to be the next Mandalorian Jedi in order to use
Well,
the saber? But I mean, probably not because they need to going into the season, and Bo Katan might be getting a series. So she's going to be the leader of Mandalore. She's going to have the dark saber. So
there's a lot going on in really a short 15-minute section, right? Like the whole thing about it came to a part. I can't remember exactly when it happened. Obviously, he explained how he got the sword through combat. So of course he was challenged by the big
mhm.
guy, right? The big guy felt like he needed that was part of
Yes,
his
is
lineage or something, right? So he wanted
yes,
to challenge for the sword, and they went again into some hand-to-hand combat,
yeah,
battling for it. Mando comes out on top, sort of thing. And that's when they had a discussion, didn't they? This is where they had the
yeah.
discussion about removing the helmet. Has ever removed
Well,
the helmet? And they said no, no. And then he's like,
yeah.
awkward, oh, kind of twice, kind of, you know.
Stupid honesty.
Yeah, well, it gets you into trouble, I guess, right? So, but again, it's his religion, so obviously him lying about it would not sit well, sort of thing, right? So, like you're saying, it said, well, the only way to, like get your virginity back is to go back to Mandalore and go
like
down.
cleansing the waters of
Yeah,
something or another.
yeah, right. So
Um,
obviously, it's setting you, like you were saying earlier, it's setting up for a possible. Obviously, it sets up that we're probably going to Mandalore in season 3,
right.
possibly, because that has been set up that way. Also, it's also setting up that somehow, some way, he's going to go back and see Grogu.
I like this comment from James. He says I think Mando's gonna go and find Grogu, and Luke's gonna show him how to use it.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good one. And again, he liked that Mando sucked with the dark saber. It reminded him of the episode of Rebels where Kanan had to teach Sabine how to use it properly. So, spoiler,
which
I don't know if you got to that yet,
I
Todd.
haven't got that to that part yet. But again, it's been years. That's on me. That's on me. I can't blame James for that. But again, that makes perfect sense, right? Because obviously Mando doesn't know how to wield it properly. He cut himself with it, right?
Man, did
Like
he ever?
he's
Yeah.
he's very lucky he didn't cut his own leg off, right? So, and obviously doing the simple sparring, and the armor was not even trying, right? Like he could not. He was slow. He was awkward. He was everything, and she just kept tapping the head with her hammer, right?
Mm, good
Or
point.
there's a Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy. Ahsoka. Maybe she shows the way.
Yeah. Shows the way. No pun.
Or maybe Grogu. He is right. Really, like he's been gone with Luke for how long has that span of time been? I have no idea. But
Yeah.
now there's a thought. Was that my thought about Grogu? That way you don't have to bring Luke in. You don't have to bring Ahsoka in. You don't have to. You just bring Grogu in, and he can teach. But I
Yes.
think you mentioned. I thought that the armor talking about you're fighting the sword. I I think you're right. I think she's talking about the Force in their terms. Like they probably don't believe in the Force, or
Right.
and so she's just talking and trying to explain the way that a Mandalorian would understand it, sort of thing, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, the Jedi Mandalorians were enemies, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, so James just said he hadn't considered it. Ooh, look
yeah.
at there was on my side for a nice thought. I had one today. That's good, right? I can go now. I had one good point.
All right, I'm going home. So Mando, now that he's exposed and has to go and redeem himself, excuse me, he's got to go and take a trip on the ship here.
Oh, right, because he doesn't have his cruiser anymore, right? So he's got to fly coach. I thought that was a hilarious scene. He jumps on, he's has to fly with everybody. He has to check his weapons in, of course. Are you okay there, Steve? We don't
I'm
have to call
good. I'm
911,
good.
right? Okay, good. We don't have to call. Right, so he has to check all his weapons in. That was kind of a hilarious scene. A classic scene from action movies, right? Where they say check your weapons in. Like I'm thinking of like Desperado or what's another one? The guy just keeps pulling out guns galore. He just keeps mounting them out, and that's what he was doing, right? It seemed like it was never ending. And of course,
Yes,
yeah. You okay there, buddy? You need a drink of water?
I just got a dry throat all of a sudden, but I'm good.
Okay.
Yes, that scene, which reminded me of Desperado, where he's pulling all the weapons out of.
And it just
I
keeps
thought was
going.
hilarious.
Yeah, and then
I
of course
was
he had the
nervous. I
little.
thought, why is he giving up his weapons? Like the saber, he should have kept. They wouldn't have known what that was when he put it in the box. I'm like, there goes the dark saber.
Oh yeah, sorry, Jeremy. Just remember, it was Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Thank you very
Mad
much.
Max. Yes,
That's exactly what it was. Yes, because that's when Mel Gibson put all the stuff up in the counter. That's right. When he
yes.
had to check into Town.
Now here's a part while he's on the ship and he's looking at his Grogu package there.
And it looked like
And
Grogu. This is when he's like looking in dreamy eyes. Oh my poor
yeah,
Grogu.
and what I thought was kind of that we talked about real world stuff that made me kind of go, was this.
Yes, I didn't
It
mind
was
this as much, but yes, you're right, Steve.
it was kind of like, the kid in a plane in real life, and I'm like, oh, come on, dude, like whatever. I guess it was kind of showing the soft side
But I
or
imagine
the
aliens would
softer
do that
side.
too. Why wouldn't an alien kid do that too? Come on, they're childish. They have feelings. They want to have some fun.
It just
I didn't
seemed
mind that so much,
too.
but
It just, it was like the smallest little tiniest thing that I went, that's like an airline in our world. But I was okay with it. So, and then he travels back to to Tatooine, where we right away get to see the return of the mechanic.
Yes, the mechanic and an R4 unit. I'm a big fan of R4 units.
James, I like the Rodian kid. It was hammering home how much he missed that. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it was a big tie-in connection, an emotional connection. Because after looking at the kid, he looked at his little pouch. It looked like Grogu. He's like, I miss Grogu. You know, like
right.
he's not a
Yeah,
heartless hunter. He is a man with a heart and has compassion, and he wants to find his little baby.
and his transformation from hardened bounty hunter to more softer and softer with kids and blah 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 came. It was much more natural and balanced over 2 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to what we're getting now with Boba Fett. Now, again, I'm loving the series.
You
It
just
just
wanted to do
seems
more.
quick.
He just wants to be. He wants to do it out of respect, not fear and
Fear
intimidation. Come
respect, I
on.
know. Now, the mechanic scene, it's kind of like silly, fun scene where there's this little creature and they're trying to get it, and it almost gets her. And you see R5 and you see the pit droid and that little droid. I didn't get a picture from that game, the Star Wars game. I forget the name. Um, so you get to see little bits there, and he's actually going there to see her for a specific reason.
Yes, because
So just to get a ship.
he needs a ship because the Razor Crest is no more. He was looking.
Right.
He actually won another one, right? So he's like, hey,
Yeah,
there's
he
like there's one lying around somewhere, right?
yeah. So that's what he wanted, and so she takes him into the hangar, and it's an old Naboo fighter, sort of. It's all in
Yes.
pieces, but and that was really awesome to see, kind of a callback to the prequels. And they're a really sick looking ship, a nice fighter. I really do like them.
So I hate the Naboo fighter. Like I've
What?
always never liked them, even from the first episode. They just look so clean. But it's possible when they rebuild this thing, it doesn't look so sleek as it used to.
Yeah, and they do. Now we get kind of the mechanic. I actually liked. I liked her in this episode way more than the episode that she was in the Mandalorian. I just thought, maybe she was, maybe she had found her character and stuff. I just thought she was more fun, and there was more to her in this,
Mm-hmm.
so kind of enjoyed it more. But so then they do the whole montage of fixing the ship up. They
First of all,
they, they just didn't have rock music.
you put in James's comment.
Oh yeah,
Yes, I do. I hate the Naboo fighter. I'm sorry. I thought he said originally said he hates the Naboo fighter. He's just questioning my love
yes.
of the. Yeah, hate's a
Heretic,
strong word.
heretic.
Hate's a strong word, but the reason why I hate it is because it's too clean, too slick, too slender. Where everything in Star Wars is really rough and rugged and boxy and
But that was
like that.
Naboo, right? Like
I
Naboo was this
know.
kind of like pretty little world, and everything was new. Like the Queen ship was this like fully chrome ship
Yes.
that was cleaned
Yes.
and blah blah blah. And that was
Yeah.
just the way they were. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they were kind of prissy. I get it. They should
Yes.
have, they should put
It's
some flames on the side of it or something.
the Naboo fighters look very slick, very slender. They look like they're really fast, but it just doesn't carry the awesomeness of an X-wing fighter or A-wing fighter or B-wing fighter or Y-wing fighter or list goes on and on. Do the whole alphabet. I'm done with me talking. Come on, hands, dice. Come on.
Oh, that's funny. So I like the
Hate.
montage. The mechanics getting help with from some of Wayne's favorite buddies, the little rats,
The
the
Jawas.
Jawas.
It was a good scene when, especially she said that she kissed one. Didn't she say she kissed one?
She dated one for a while.
Dated
This
one
guy,
for
one of
one.
them, the the,
Yeah,
the taller guy, she dated him.
a little furry. She said, right? The little furry.
Yeah, a little furry, and then she even speaks the language. No one's
Yeah,
ever
that
done
was
that.
cool. That was really cool.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was good.
Uh, yeah. So Jeremy's saying, Book of Boba Fett. They rebuilt what I've dubbed the Wizard, has a third engine on top, and it's very pod racer. Yeah, I mean that's what they were doing. They were kind of doing the whole pod racer thing, and we'll kind of get to that as time goes on. So when they kind of are piecing it together, here's another little. I didn't get a list of the million Easter eggs throughout the entire show, but they get a part brought back from the Jawas, and it's
Yes.
this part here,
Yes.
and it's like from the trash compactor.
Compactor. I can't remember what he called it, but and the Jawas got it from a from a pike vehicle. They kind of just stole it
They
off the
just
bottom when
stole
they
it.
parked somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and uh, during the whole scenes where they're piecing all back together and all their technical jargon, it almost reminded me of like a Star Trek episode because I've never heard someone talk so much about the Star Wars tech, and I'm sure it was 100%, you know, to whatever the universe is. But I just thought it was really interesting how they just went on and on and on with this jargon. That
It's never
you
really
know,
been done before, like you're saying. They've never really broken. You've seen people repairing ships, but never really got into the nuts and bolts of what they're working with, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, not the mechanic.
Oh, James went dark, didn't he?
Right. Yeah, so Jeremy, it's been confirmed it's the same piece of equipment, the cryogenic booster thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, so then after the whole thing, they do the big reveal, and there it is. I thought they were going to paint it Mando like, but it was just still kind of like without paint, and but it's all fixed, and
But
it's
it's the
got the
same
extra
color.
engine.
Same color as a Razor Crest. It didn't have any color to it. It was just kind of gray and silverish.
Yeah, I know, but I thought she was just going to jazz it up, not like the Scooter Gang, but
Yes.
and the
Well,
little thing where the astromech goes, she made it so something small like that could fit there,
a little
like
Grogu.
little Grogu, which I thought
Yes.
was interesting. When they were first going along with this ship, and he did say, well, when you find a Razor Crest, you can have this one back. But I just thought, why is he doing this? This is not functional for a hunter in any way.
No, that's
What he was
exactly
doing
what
this
I
for.
thought too. Like to me, it's just a point at the A to B. I think until he finds a bigger craft, because like you said, it doesn't seem like a very practical ship unless he's getting it, bring back everybody cold, right? You can looks like you can fit a head in a
At least
little
a head
pod
in there.
back there, right? But if
That's
you really
true.
bring back a live specimen, which I think it calls for sometimes, he's going to need a different ship. You know, it's a one seater. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of room for that thing. But again, yeah, I want to take back what I said about the Naboo fighters. I don't like the original ones, but this little modified one, I like. It's rough. It fits more of the Star Wars universe to me. It's not very clean. It's not very splendor. I love the blasters on front. They have the big cannons off the top. I love the little engine hood sticking out the top.
Or you can just strap them to the hood, as James says here. Yeah, you could do
Sure,
that.
I'm sure that would work really well in
Do that.
space, especially
So,
going the speeds it can go at too, right?
and that was the thing. This was really cool. This is something up Lucas's alley, right? Because he loved speed. So, the trench run, uh, the speeder bikes on Endor, um, uh, on Hoth, the speeders on Hoth, that whole thing. He loves speed, and so Mando takes his fighter out for a spin, and this scene, Beggars Canyon.
Yeah.
So it was perfect to the pod racing. Even the sounds. How his engine started up, and it did that whole startup that Anakin's pod racer did. It was so cool. Again,
Yeah,
all the prequel people are excited.
well, again, you're exactly right. Even like the course he was going on was the speed racers course, right? Like
Yeah,
it was the pod racers course. It was this kind of nice little nostalgic little hit again, sort of thing, hitting all the right sound effects, the right look, the right feel. It really hit that nostalgia button for us.
oh, it
Beautiful.
was so cool. And when he went into space, the whole scene, like this here, where the camera is facing him and you can see everything moving behind him, that
One
was
thing
so cool.
One thing you rarely see in Star Wars is the hand controls. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When they're fighting, you never see that. So that was a kind of neat perspective shot where, I in the beginning of the episode, I talked about how I didn't care for Dallas's directing skills, but you know what? I must say there's some really cool things in this episode. So maybe I'm gonna reconsider my first comment I might change my mind as this episode goes through.
Never. Yeah. So that's what we were saying. Yeah, Jeremy, you could see the ramp where Anakin ramped his pod. Yeah, so it's like almost perfect to the prequels. So really like that. But the whole space scene and almost like a fighter, where you see in war movies where you see the view from the fighter pilot.
Yeah.
It really gives a perspective of how it's moving. So, and I didn't get the pictures for this, but he's showboating and he flies next to a Star Cruiser, and there's that kid in the window, and he's like nodding, and the kid's like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Oh."
Okay, I must admit that part kind of got to me too, Steve. Not as much as some of like other things I've seen so far in the series, but yeah, there's one of those things that it reminded me of Wally. Wally when he was flying outside the ship. He had the fire extinguisher propelling him
Yeah.
through, and just he had that kind of feel sort of thing. But
Yeah. So like what happens when anyone showboats and goes crazy? The
please
authorities
show up.
show up.
Yeah, please show up.
So I did look up who the other X-wing pilot was, but they're kind of figuring, he's not registered and this and that. And just as they're about to take him in, the other pilot's like, "Wait a minute, let's give him a break here." And it's Captain Teva's return.
Mr. Kim.
Mr. Kim, yes. So I was excited to see that. So he just has that, starts trying to figure it out. You sound familiar. Did you used to fly Razor Crest? Blah blah blah, on and on. And then he's like, can I ask you some questions? And then we get to that. That was the thing with the ship. He could get into light speed without using one of those rings. So then they're showing you what a ship can do. She's told, like, they've told us everything, how it's faster, it does this better, it does this different than the Naboo fighter, and it could jump into light speed without this kind of help, like Obi-Wan's ship.
Yes.
So he just blasts off. Now, there's an interesting theory that came to us from James. We were talking offline. And I have to agree, this scene here, I bet was originally written for Cara Dune. Because Teva jumps in and it's like, I've got this. Don't worry, we're not going to take him in. And maybe it was even written a little different, like, you can go on your way, wink, or something like that, right? That's totally the perfect spot for a Cara Dune scene.
So she would have been the X-wing fighter.
Played by she who must not be named.
That's
yes.
possible.
Or whatever
possible.
ship she would have been in, right? Because she was going to be a ranger, right?
Yeah.
Ranger of the Republic. He was recruiting her. Remember when he gave her the badge?
I do remember, yes.
So amazing. We were talking about that yesterday. It was like, that is amazing.
But
yeah,
that didn't happen though.
No, but I really love seeing Captain Teva, Mr. Kim, playing in that role. Man, what a thrill for him! And except for the helmet, because they needed the helmet to look a certain way. Everything he's wearing is his. He made. He's part of the 501st, the Rebel Legion, here in Canada, and that's how he got on to the Mandalorian. He met with Dave Filoni, and he's like, "Do you want to be this X-wing pilot?" He's like, "Yeah, I've got the outfit already. I can just show up." So
that's another really cool thing, right? You had the actor playing BK, who's jumping to a role. You have somebody else like Mr. Kim jumping in and gets to be an X-wing. Who wouldn't love the opportunity to do such a thing, right? Have Daniel Craig playing a stormtrooper. You've had other famous celebrities appearing. Simon Pegg in a Star Wars movie. Everybody would jump at an opportunity to be part of.
I would give anything. I would like be like some scumbag. Well, because I'm just thinking of the way that I look. Some scumbag bounty hunter or something, or
with a mullet.
Okay. Yeah, good night, Todd. So he gets back to the hangar, and the mechanic's like, oh, there was some woman looking for you, and I told her you weren't here, blah blah blah. But of course, she's here, and it's Fennec. And I have some thoughts about this. Of the 5 minutes that was devoted to the Book of Boba Fett, like Boba Fett in this show, to not have Boba Fett be that person that came to ask him to help, or at least be along with her, seems really, really strange. It's like, why? And you make the argument, well, he's a crime lord and he's just sending his helper, blah, blah, blah. But he's done other things himself. He's walked into the town to talk to so and so. He's walked, you know what I mean? He's there. This would have been the perfect moment to remind people that it's the Book of Boba Fett. But but Fennec Shand is there. It seems out of place to me to not have Boba Fett there asking him, because he could have said, look, I need your help. And then he could have said, you don't need to pay me, just like he said to her, I owe you.
You're not wrong. I didn't. It didn't feel off to me when I first watched it, but now you're saying this, I'm going, yeah, they could definitely done that. Again, that would have satisfied my craving to actually have Boba Fett in his own show.
Yeah, I mean, James says here it's almost disrespectful.
Yes. I think he might be talking about you shaving your beard off if you wanted to be in Star Wars.
No, okay, I'll answer that right now. Would you shave your beard to be in Star Wars? No. And no one would want me in Star Wars without the beard, except my wife.
Yeah, I think James just wrote something about how his theory about your thinking. He wants to point out.
Yeah, he wants to be a crime lord, but he's bad at it and seems to hate it. I think the series is going to end with him going off. Yeah, that's into the sand. That's what we were saying last week, is that after the big battle and all the Tuskens come to help in the very end because they all can't do it alone. He's going to go off with the Tusken female and the rest of the tribe. Fennec Shand's going to take over, and that's going to be the retirement of Boba Fett. I guess we could call it that.
He'll ride off in the sunset on his banta.
Right. So the whole plan, right? That said almost from the beginning, Mandalorian, his goal is to go get Grogu. So Grogu's coming back.
That's what he said. So didn't he say I have to go do something first?
Yeah, that's what he said. He's got to go, get Grogu, basically, right? Because he's family. He's like blah blah blah. So we're gonna get another shot to see Luke.
Possibly.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna go. There's gonna go back to Boba. So there's 2 more episodes, right? There's 7 episodes. Is that correct?
There's 7. Yeah.
I think that he's going to disappear, and then he'll come back with Grogu, possibly. Yeah. Possibly, and then the beginning of season 3 of Mandalorian, they'll probably do that. What happened when he left? Possibly to fill that gap in.
Right. Definitely. Well, I mean, that'll be season 3, right?
Yes, season 3.
The hunt for Grogu, or whatever it is.
Whatever it is, yes.
That's their new. What do you call that? It's the new thing that they're looking for. But yeah, so chapter 5. I'm just so confused that the best episode of the season and the most Boba Fett-like character is the Mandalorian, which is really interesting. I saw someone do a review of it, and they said it's almost like Favreau's heart wasn't in Boba Fett, because they kind of threw this together, that his heart's in the Mandalorian of what Boba Fett should have been. I don't know how to take that, but
I don't know. It's interesting. Again, I still don't think it's the best episode of the series, of the season so far. That's my opinion. Again, it was really good. I did miss Boba Fett lots. Now we went through the whole entire episode. Again, I really missed Boba Fett in this episode. I wish they had him. Like him at the end would have been really, really good point to have instead of Fennec Shand. But yeah, it's not my favorite of the season, but it was still really good.
Yeah. So comment from Jeremy, I think the whole Boba really a Mandalorian going to come into play during the next couple of seasons of Mando, and if we get a second season of Boba Fett, yeah, I don't know. From my understanding, it's going to be one season of the Book of Boba Fett, and that's all she wrote.
And that's fine too, right? Like, he's still, whether he walks off in the sunset doesn't mean he's dead. Doesn't mean, he can still come back and be part of Mandalorian and come back and be part of a big, like I said, I've mentioned before, they're setting up some kind of cinematic event where they can bring all the characters back in. Like, you got to think, like, they set up Ahsoka, they have Mandalorian, they have Boba Fett, they've mentioned the big bad guy. What's his name? The big bad guy. We haven't seen him yet. Possibly in Ahsoka. The guy with blue skin. Can't remember his name.
Thrawn.
Thrawn. They've mentioned him, right? There's a lot of stuff building up, right?
A lot of stuff.
Right. So
Right.
that's what I believe that they're heading towards is a big, huge cinematic event. Again, they're doing exactly what Marvel did. Although Marvel
Yes.
did with movies, they're doing with these TV series. They're introducing a whole bunch of characters. You have to wait for
Right.
Omega to show up eventually, right? Like, Fennec Shand was in the Bad Batch. Everything's tied together. They're doing really, really creative stuff, making it all tie in. And I hear a lot of stuff too about reconning, the sequel trilogy, right? And coming up with something new.
Right. Right. So we're going to see, well, not Boba Fett, but we're going to see maybe the actor again in Ahsoka, right? Can he play Rex, Captain Rex, the older?
Why couldn't he?
So yeah.
Why couldn't he? Right?
So there's that, and there'll be reason for him to talk all the time because Boba Fett, I don't know. Like I said, I'm loving the show. This episode made me love the show more.
But Boba Fett wasn't in it.
He wasn't in it, and he should have been in that last 5 minutes. So confusing.
He should have been. You should email John, let him know, hey, Mr. Favreau.
I texted him. He's like, "I'll get back to you." You know how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look, James said that he wants to have look who Cad Bane. Look who he wants to play Cad Bane. You see that? Willem Dafoe. Or he also said too, or possibly Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. That'd be different. I've seen people do fan art of who's the guy that played Khan in the new Star Trek? He played
It was Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes, I seen them putting that. Whoever they get to play Thrawn, I would love to see them. It be like a very nice voiced British actor with that kind of accent, right? Because especially with American audiences, it would make him sound more snooty.
Yes.
Or like, and plus, the villains, didn't the villains seem to all have British accents, right? Like in
Yes.
like all the officers seem to be British,
Yeah, they
etc.
do
So
seem that, but yes.
yeah.
Jane Spader would be awesome. Although he probably doesn't have the right physique anymore. Jane Spader would be a good Thrawn.
Yeah. So yeah, Jeremy was saying he read that Tamura was willing to play anything clone related. Of course, yeah. A paycheck is really good, and Disney pays well. I bet.
Well, if you're an actor, you want a gig, right? Let's face it, right? So, and playing an iconic character, that'd be kind of cool. Now,
Yeah. I still think he was kind of thrown off a little bit. He had some different thoughts on his Boba Fett, but in the end, he's still going to get work, maybe in Ahsoka, or I mean, the series is still doing great. I do love it, but man, this episode, I don't know what they're going to do in the next two. I mean, they really have to bring in, bring in the guns for this.
Yeah, I hope there's gonna be more guns brought into it. We talked about last week how cool it'd be. They brought back a lot of the original bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back. Right, got Boss, IG-88, a Danger. How cool would that be? I still think holding out. Maybe the Pikes will bring those people in. Right? You don't know. Might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I heard from Robert Rodriguez. In the beginning, he said there's gonna be big stuff happening with the series. So I imagine it's all gonna build up to a big, huge confrontational battle at the end of it. So strap in.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the unfolding of the Favreau Filoni verse.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's ironic the guy heading it is the one that started the Marvel one. So
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But I think that's it for chapter 5. I really don't know what they're going to do for chapter 6 and 7, but this was awesome. I've watched it twice, and it's making me excited for season 3 of The Mandalorian. And we shouldn't be feeling that way in the Book of Boba Fett.
Again, I thought it was great. It wasn't my favorite episode. I was going to say that right there. Wasn't my
All
favorite.
right. Yes. Yeah. And as James said, it was his second favorite Mandalorian episode. I have to agree with him. It's my second favorite one too. So, but thanks to everyone who has joined us in the chat and everyone watching. Make sure you check us out next Thursday, I believe, for chapter 6 and whatever else Star Wars that comes up. And thanks again. Good night.
See ya.